Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video. Hey, guess what? It's not a collage video. Are you surprised? I'm playing with a stamp that I designed when I did my trip to Australia. So this one is called She is Bold, and you can get your hands on this stamp from Natalie May Scrapbooking .com.au in Australia. Nat is brilliant at sorting out postage and all that, all those shenanigans and nonsense. Um, so if you're interested, hop over. There are two designs. There's this straight forward facing face, and then there is a side view. So I've stamped them on 3 times. What I'm going to go for here is one face, but 3 different looks. Um, so one of the reasons I designed this stamp like this is so that you can add on your own hairdos. Like, and maybe this is my inner child thinking, okay, so I'd quite like to be able to do different hairstyles. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going in with quite a bold look on this one. I've never done like a really heavy fringe. Those of you in the UK, maybe abroad, might have heard of a presenter called Claudia Winkleman, right? So this is my Claudia Winkleman vibe. She has a really heavy fringe. Um, and that's kind of what I went for. I really liked how this one looked. So this is a super easy kind of way to create that face. And you notice I'm going in with all the hairstyles first. I'm going in with pretty ordinary hair colours here. Like when I say ordinary, I don't mean boring, just like normal, not funky coloured rainbow hair. Um, and this page has no gesso on. This is the white, uniquely creative Natalie May Scrapbooking combo journal that they created together. It's fabulous. I love it. The pages work so well without gesso and with gesso. It just kind of really doesn't matter. I am going in and adding the hair. I'm using Dina Wakley Media Paints, and yeah, just using some kind of colours for hair that you might generally expect to find. Um, so the same face, 3 different hairdos. Just kind of playing and having a little bit of fun. Now, this video, some of you may have seen when we get a little bit further on. If you follow me on social media, you might have come across this because I do a technique for my background, which is quite fun. So I'm going in with quite a neutral skin tone, like this is, I think it's apricot from Dina Wakley Media. But obviously, you know, you can put any skin tone on these faces that you wanted to. I am making an effort to do more diverse skin tones. Obviously, it didn't happen in this page, but going forwards, I will be trying to do that. So that gives me a starting point, and then I start going in and just kind of building up some marks onto the hair. So I'm using a mix of scribble sticks and Neo Colour 2s. These are just pigment sticks, no wax in them at all. So literally you just scribble on with them, and then if you want to, you can kind of water activate them just to move the pigment around. Almost then they behave like a watercolor type of pigment. These are really lovely to use to add on, as you can see here, like extra marks onto your first layer, creating that first pass of more kind of interest. You can water activate them on top of the acrylic paint. You can leave them as they are. So now I'm just thinking about adding some kind of highlights onto the hair as well. Not really overthinking it, just going in and thinking, where might the light catch? Now, this is a black gel pen. It isn't waterproof. So I've got to be a little bit careful when I start going in and adding more shadows onto my work, because if I'm not careful, I might end up activating the pen and then it'll kind of spoil the face. But I kind of knew what I was going to be using to go in and make these faces have a bit more depth, because at the minute they're quite flat. I'm not going to leave them like that, but I just wanted to pull these features out of the background just that I could kind of see what I'm playing with, really. Yeah, I mean, you can give these girls a really different look. And I think it's a great kind of starting point for learning about drawing faces. even the process of drawing over the lines helps you become more familiar with the placement of where the features go. So yeah, I'm just adding those marks. You can see that's just pulling those features forward so they're a bit more visible. Okay, so one way that I like to quickly go in and add a bit of depth and shadow is using these Jane Davenport palette pastels. Now, this is just because I have these in my stash. There are lots of ways that you can do this, including using watercolour, using coloured pencils. This is kind of just a way that I like to do it. So I can go in with some darker shades and just kind of mix them up a bit, add a bit of warmth and shadow to the faces. So I'm using what is actually like a makeup applicating tool. I can't think what it's called. Use it for like eyeshadow and things, but it's really great for adding a little bit of colour. And you can see that face on the right, whilst I haven't gone in particularly heavy with my shadows, that's not something I'm very confident with, and need to practice more. Definitely being heavier and more confident with shadows gives your faces more depth, but I always scare myself and might back off a little bit. So, you know, this is me, this is where I'm at the minute in my face journey. So I really enjoy using these palette pastels. They are a nice soft way to get that little bit of shadow on. So they will transfer. If you don't want them to transfer when you close your book, then you'd probably have to use a fixative over the top, like a little spritz of hairspray or something like that would work really nicely. You can buy other fixatives that would work. It doesn't really bother me because I'm not putting them on that heavy, that I kind of need to worry too much about the transferring. So you can see I'm getting a bit braver, going in with some slightly darker colours, just kind of ramping up those shadow elements a little bit. I could and should really have spent a bit more time just going in with more shadows to create more depth, but I kind of stopped there. And then going in with a Stabilo all pencil at the very end, you can add more shadows because you can smudge this with your finger. I generally don't water activate them at this point in a page where I'm doing a face, but I can kind of just make some of those shadows. I'm using it on its side almost and just going in and creating some darker parts here. It does make a difference, doesn't it, to the depth that the faces have. I mean, they could still have a whole lot more, but do you know what? This is okay for me. I'm not particularly looking for realism. I'm just wanting to, you know, just play really and learn about how these stamps work for me. So this is a technique that you may well have seen on Instagram and Facebook. So I've grabbed a stencil from Natalie May's scrapbooking, I think, and I'm using Neocolor 2s and I'm scribbling through the stencil onto the background around the faces. It's a really quick and easy way to get some colour on your background. And then I've added in I'm going in with a water brush and doing all the reds and water activating, pulling that pigment out a little bit. Then I'm going to go in and do all the oranges and work my way through all the colours. Then that way I'm not going to be making any muddy colours. This is a nice fun way to create a background. You don't need to get your paint out for this. It is just nice and simple. And we've still got a little bit of white space going on in the background here, which of course, as you know, is quite unusual for me. I don't often do that. But I like that little pop of colour behind those quite sort of neutral faces because I've gone with natural hair tones and the faces are just, I don't know, they have quite a neutral expression, don't they? So this little pop of colour behind is quite nice. So once that's dry, I'm then going to use a little bit of stenciling over the top. So I'm just going to go in quickly and add a bit of paint. And doing it this way where I'm dabbing, I'm not going to be spending too long on top of the water-soluble pigment. I'm not moving it about because it's nice and dry. You can layer over the top. And of course, Dina's new clear gloss, you could fix that background before you go in with the paint, fix it in place, and then it will not move. You would only need a very thin layer of that though. Then I often like to go in with a little bit of stamping, whether that's text or dots. It becomes like kind of one of my staple things to do. I often put these dots around where images and things meet the edge of my page. And then I'm just going to do a quick bit of writing on here. I am starting to play a bit more with different styles of writing on my journal pages. And I just think it's lots of fun. This is how we are going to become more confident doing different styles of writing, is by trying and being prepared that you will create things that you're not really that fussed about. So here's a close-up of those faces. I've also popped a little heart on. So like I say, you can grab that stamp from Nat's website. I'll pop a link in the description box below. Thanks for watching. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video and I hope to see you again soon.